Hello friends, welcome back to Brave the Fix program. How are you doing? Hope you all are doing great. Yes, as yes, advanced analytical problem solving expertise. We are in the middle of Six Sigma Green Belt certification, not in the middle of the Six Sigma certification. We are towards the end of this kind of certification, or I would say we are towards the end of completing successfully this Six Sigma Green Belt certification. I am Santosh Naneshwar Sarkar. So let's go to the next slide, and as we all always do, let's recap with where we left the things last time. So let's go to next slide. Next slide, please. Right. So we started this advanced analytical problem solving tool sets called Six Sigma with the define phase. So in define phase, we define the problem. So what we did in this is we had a list of problems associated with the process steps, or we do have a list of problems associated with the matrix. So we studied those problems with the help of operational level diagnostics and FME and kind of prioritize the problem. The very first thing which we prioritize here is prioritize the problem. So that is the first thing we did. And then we quantify the problem and set the proper goal, because we have to have certain goal to achieve as an improvement. So we did that and we documented it into project tracker. Once that is done, or in other words, once we finalize what needs to be done, now we need to check where the actual problem is lying. And for that sake, we use high level process map, if you could remember. So what is the problem and where is the problem is something which we decided, or we sorted out in a defined phase. Right. The next thing is major phase. Now we are entering into major phase. We do have a problem and we also know where is the problem. All we did over here is we convert the problem into measurable characteristics with the help of performance standard. That is the first thing we did. Right. So now we do have a problem with the measurable characteristics like defective, how much or how many defectives are there, what are the specification image, what the target state, and all those things we finalize, what is the metric, and from where we are collecting that particular details about the metric, and all those things we done. Now we are set to go ahead. Right. So very next step is now we have problem now, right? I would say predominant problem now, and we want to solve it. How are we going to solve this particular problem? All we're going to do is we're going to use the equation called y is equal to fx. So for every single problem, there are certain causes associated with it, and we need to find out those causes, and we need to fix those causes if we really want to fix the y, that is problem. And that's why we decided to find out the probable causes, and here we use the tool called fishbone diagram. Now we have the list of probable causes. If I may use the word huge list of probable causes, can we work on all those causes? Yes, we can, but are we supposed to work on all those causes, because that will incur time, extra efforts, extra money, right? So we cannot work on all those problems, right? So, sorry, we cannot work on all those causes. So we need to reduce the number of causes. So we need to prioritize the causes. So first level of causal prioritization is with the help of CI matrix, where from the list of probable causes, we try to figure out how many are the controllable causes or highly controllable causes. Then after highly controllable causes, how many are highly impactable causes? That includes how severe and how frequently the given causes are occurring. So based on these three scanners, let me repeat those scanners: highly controllability, then highly severity, and then the causes with high um, frequency. So we are going to take all these three kind of causes together, and we found those causes from the CI matrix. So here we have a critical causes which we got with the help of CI matrix. So that's the first level of prioritization. Probable causes get converted, or we segregated highly critical causes from the probable causes. Very next thing is, can we work on all critical causes? Again, we are not supposed to work on all critical causes because it also consumes time, money, and efforts. And that's why we came up with a statistical assessment, and statistical assessment needs some data collection. And that's why we collected some data over here. That is the data collection phase in major phase. So in major phase, we found critical, or we measure criticality of the causes, right, with the help of CI matrix. Now, what about the problem? We also need to find out, or also need to measure the criticality of the problem as well, and that's where we use capability assessment. So that's what we did it in a major phase. So we measure criticality of the causes as well as criticality of the problem. So that's about a major phase. Once that is done, for finding out statistically significant causes, we use analytic, or we use analyze phase to statistical test over here. In the test like chi-square test and a graphical analysis of chi-square goodness of fit test. So that's an analyze phase which help us find out statistically significant causes, right? So we started with the probable causes to critical causes to statistically significant causes, right? Once we got statistically significant causes, right? All we need to, or all we are going to do is we are going to find out the probable solutions to handle it, and that's what we do it in interface. We figure out solutions, probable solutions, then we filtered out, or we segregated potential solutions out of probable solutions based on the four filters, if you could remember. Impactability, second is cost effectiveness of the solution, third is feasibility of implement, how feasible it is to implement a given solution, and finally consent of the management or client to deploy that solution. So based on these four filters, we refined the solutions. So when we had a probable solutions, of course, we cannot work on all the probable solutions. So that's why we need to segregate critical solutions or potential solutions, and that's where we use the solution refinement. Suppose that we need to come up with a plan to implement given solution, but that too on a short-term basis. In other words, experimental basis or test basis. And for that sake, we build a solution implementation plan. We deploy the solution implementation plan, and almost for a week or so. One solution got implemented, one team got habituated to implement the solution. We started collecting data for next 1 month. That is the data for our improve phase. Why we need data for improve phase? Why we need to collect the data of improve phase? Because we wanted to prove that whatever solutions we have used, those solutions have helped us to improve the performance of the web. And how are we going to check this? We are going to check the project-wise performance before improvement, that is the major phase project Y versus that of improve phase project Y. This comparison we did it with a two proportion test, and we have statistically proven that yes, there is an improvement in the performance because number of non-compliances has reduced significantly in the improve phase. That's what we did in an improve phase with the help of 2-3 tests. Then finally, once that is done, we also figure out the capability. Now, current improve phase capability. We had a major phase capability. Now we find out current improve phase capability. Right, so that's what a capability post improvement. We checked out that as well, and that helps us to further confirm that yes, there is an improvement. Two-piece test already validated the improvement, and we are confirming the improvement with the capability analysis that yes, capability score or sigma score has improved from major phase to improve phase. And then once that is done, we modify the process map or process flow chart with the help of the solutions which help to improve the performance of the wire. So we updated the process map with this solution so that on regular basis in future, team can start utilizing those solutions, in a given process, right? For that sake, we updated the process map as well. So this is what we did in the improve phase, and then we are now entered into control phase. That's the final phase In control phase, we are going to sustain the improvement. So we achieve the improvement on a short-term or experimental basis. Now the question is, can we achieve the improvement with the same solutions on long-term, or for that matter, ongoing basis, or regular basis, or daily basis? That's what we need to do. But again, for that sake, all we need to check right now is, do we have a robust control plan, which we hand it over to the management as a guiding document, so that they can ensure that project-wise performance is sustained. So for that sustenance, we need some guidance, and that guidance will be provided by the control plan. So very first step is control plan. In control phase, building the control plan, which we're going to build and pass it on, or develop and pass it on to operational teams, so that they can ensure that project-wise performance is within control, and the performance has sustained the improvement over the period of time. So how we're going to build or develop control plan? Let's go to next few slides and understand. Let's go to next slide. We spend good amount of time in revising every phase and every step in every single video. The reason is that we want to solidify or cement our conceptual understanding of DMAC methodology. So I'm sure once you have this understanding, you can solve any business problem with this analytical problem solving methodology of Six Sigma. That is the reason why we are sparing that much of time in revising every single step or phase in every single video. So on that note, yes, control phase. Let's go to next slide. Right, so control phase, just a moment. Right. So control phase, step 5.1 is develop control plan. This is the very first step in a control phase. So where we are standing right now, we are done with our improve phase, and we have also validated that we have successfully deployed solutions, and we have seen the improvement based on those solutions, right? So post improvement validation for experimental basis in improve phase, we need to develop a control plan for smooth implementation of solutions for ongoing basis, that is on daily basis, right? So in improve phase, we deploy solution only for a short-term basis, that is for test purpose or experiment purpose. Now, once those solutions are validated, we got to take those solutions for day-to-day regular basis deployment, right? So that's for ongoing basis. To deploy it for an ongoing basis, we have to have a certain guiding document, which can help operations team to smoothly implement the solutions on a regular basis. And if they could do so, we can definitely have seen, or we can definitely see the improvement, sustenance, or stability in the performance of the process Y, or for that matter, we can see the sustenance or stability in a reduction of the problem. And for that sake, we got to come up with a control plan. So that's about the purpose of the control plan. Let's go to next slide and understand a bit more about control plan. So before we further get into control plan, let's quickly go through the objectives of the control phase. The first objective is to monitor performance of the project Y for regular or daily basis, that is ongoing basis. Second, to ensure performance of the project Y is stable on regular or daily basis. Third, to validate improvement, sustenance, or stability for regular or daily basis. To calculate capability of the stable process. To document and communicate project results, and finally to check whether we can utilize the knowledge which we gain through this particular project for some other purposes, or for that matter for some other metrics. The A. Secondly, can we utilize the knowledge which we gain for a given metric for a given location? Can we use the same knowledge base for the same metric for some other location? By the end of the day, DMAC methodology, you can utilize it for any metric. So if you learn that understanding to utilize DMAC methodology, which is a problem solving methodology successfully for a given project or for a given metric, you can replicate it, replicate the utility for different purposes or for different metrics for different locations as well. So can we do that? We need to understand that as well. That's what one of the objective of control phase 2. So that's about to check result of this project be leveraged to other areas of the business. So on that note, let's go to next slide. Next slide, please. Right. So control plan, right? So control phase planning and deployment. Now there are three things we do over here. The first thing, of course, we need to receive an approval for improvement validation from senior management and finance manager. So once we are done with the improve phase, the very next thing before we move to the control phase is we have to take an approval from the senior management, approval to go ahead and deploy the solutions for an ongoing basis. In other words, to scale up the deployment of the solutions. So for that sake, we got to take an approval from the senior management. Secondly, why we need approval from the finance manager? Finance manager will see the improvement validation, and then based on that, if you continue using the same solutions ongoing basis in upcoming future, what would be forecasted benefit in the form of dollars, or in the form of rupees, or any currency you do have, right? So they will do that calculations, number crunching, and based on that, they realize, okay, if we utilize the solutions for upcoming months, and if we sustain with the improvement the way we have improved the performance of Y in a improve phase, if we sustain with that particular improvement, we can see this much amount of benefit in a monetary terms. So they will see to it, and with that projections, with that forecasting, they will approve whether we should go ahead deploying these solutions for an ongoing basis for scaling up programs, right? So scaling up is nothing but utilizing what we learned in an improve phase for day-to-day basis or ongoing basis or long-term basis. So that is the very first thing, take an approval or seek an approval. Then of course, we are going to develop a control plan as a guiding document for daily monitoring of the performance of Y, that is our problem. That too after completion of Six Sigma project. So imagine you have shown the improvement, right? So till the improve phase, define, measure, analyze, and improve. For all these four phases, you are the one who were in a driving seat. Now, whatever results you achieved based on improvement, you need to pass it on to the operations team so that they can take it ahead and then start deploying it on a regular basis, ongoing basis. So you will take a back seat, and operations henceforth will take a leading seat or driving seat, right? And for them to deploy it for a longer period of time or for ongoing basis, you have to come up with certain guiding document that would include what need to be taken care, that is your why, how we need to taken care, what are different causes associated, I would say statistically significant causes, how to curb or fix those causes to improve the performance of the project Y. What are different challenges you may face, the way we face the challenges in an improve phase, and you maintain that cause and solutions and challenge log, right? That file. So, or that recording. So you just pass it on all those stuffs, all those knowledgeable things or knowledge base to the operations, so that will guide operations to continue deploying the solutions for upcoming months. So that's where we need to have some document, some collations of some document, and that collation of documents is nothing but your control plan. It controls the performance of the problem. That is why it's called a control plan. So this kind of an extension of your solution implementation plan from improve phase. So control plan comprises documents of monitoring plan and response plan. So this is what we need to develop. That's second thing. Third thing, as I mentioned, we need to pull it all different kind of documents like your Lean Six Sigma Green Belt projects document. Your decks, that deck is your presentation, right? So you need to have all these details with you. Then cause and solution logs, control plan, relevant other guiding documents. You need to just collate all those things and pass it on to the process manager, which you can call operations manager as well, so that this operations manager can smoothly deploy solutions on regular basis or on day-to-day basis. So that is why we need to pass it on these details to the operations manager. So this is what is all about control phase planning and deployment. So let's go to next slide. Right. So we said that control plan do have couple of documents. One is monitoring plan, another one is a response plan. So let's understand those documents in little more detail. A monitoring plan constantly checks the ongoing performance of an improved project while post Six Sigma project completion. So we're almost done with the improved phase. We have seen that we have improved the performance from major phase to improved phase. We have validated it. Improved means what? A number of non-compliances has been reduced from major phase to improved phase, right? So we want to sustain it, and that is why we need to monitor the performance of project Y, and that monitoring is done through the monitoring plan. Now, what are different parameters or elements of the monitoring plan? So the monitoring plan has the following parameters. A, what needs to be monitored, we need to specify that. So it's like a template. Very first column is for what need to be monitored. Of course, our project Y. What is non-compliance level of Y? So what we will call non-compliance, right? If performance is not up to the mark, we need to mention that. Of course, we are going to go through the example the example of our, or for that matter, the case of our current metric of PT non-compliance. But right now, we're just going through different parameters. So we started with what are we monitoring, that is project Y. What is the definition of non-compliance? So what is that alarming situation where I need to look into for this particular project Y, right? So this is all I need to monitor for the non-compliance. So we are monitoring to see whether performance of the project Y is not going out of control. In other words, the performance of the project Y is not non-compliance. So we need to monitor project Y for that sake. But for that sake, we need to define what is non-compliance, and that is what this particular column will talk about. What is non-compliance level of Y? Then who is supposed to monitor? How frequently he or she is supposed to monitor? Then who is accountable to ensure proper monitoring? Can you recall a solution implementation plan? It's almost similar to that only, right? So does monitoring plan monitors performance of Y, and if any non-compliance occurs, it checks whether this NC is caused by statistically significant causes, which we found, right, in the Six Sigma project. So that investigation needs to be taken care based on this monitoring plan. This is kind of a black box, if I may use this word, kind of a blueprint to follow if anything goes haywire. So let's call it a guiding kind of a document to follow. So this is about a monitoring plan. Let's go to next slide, please. Right, response plan. A response plan ensures what needs to be done. That is, how to respond if any non-compliance occurs. So imagine if there are any non-compliances in the performance of the Y. We're going to investigate causes, whether whether those particular causes have been surfaced again, right? We need to check that, right? If those causes are resurfaced, the reason could be that we have not implemented solutions properly, or we are not implementing solutions properly. There's always going to be possibility that during the phase or during Six Sigma implementation project phase, people are quite enthusiastic to deploy those solutions, but once project get completed, people start getting lethargic, and that's where they avoid implementing the solutions. That's unfortunate thing. But to avoid that, we have this control plan, and to avoid that, we do monitor why. So if any non-compliance resurfaced, we will check whether it is caused because of statistically significant causes, not which we found into analyze phase. Then if yes, we will check, are we really following solutions properly or not, or religiously or not. Let me use this word. You need to follow the given solutions properly. Have you been following the solutions properly? The causes will not affect the performance of Y. And if performance of Y will not get affected, performance of Y will always going to be under compliance range. So we'll not see the problem. So if we are seeing any non-compliances, chances are quite high. This is because we are not properly following the solutions. And this monitoring and response plan here help us ensure that we follow each and every norm, each and every solution quite properly, or if I may use that word again, religiously. So if there is any incidence of non-compliance, the response plan checks whether solutions proven in Six Sigma project are properly implemented or not. If not, then response plan ensures those solutions are implemented properly to return process performance to desired level. That is the power, that is the value of the response plan, and of course that of monitoring plan. And these two plans together will form our control plan. So on that note, let's go to next slide. Right. So this is how a control plan will look. This is a monitoring plan. We're going to where we are going to monitor the Y and of course statistically significant X's. And response plan is all about responding to the X's which are surfaced, for that matter resurfaced, and we need to curve those X's, right? And if you could curve or fix those X's, ultimately the performance of Y will get into the compliance zone or compliance range. So this is about our typical monitoring and response plan, which is a control plan. So this is our case. So what is to be monitored? Here PT non-compliance. So what is non-compliance in case of PT? Non-compliance. Non-compliance is when average processing time per shift is more than 270 seconds, right? So who should monitor where performance is within the specification range of within 270 seconds? Assistant manager. So we do have three different shifts supervisors, and they will collect the data, pass it on to assistant manager, and every single day assistant manager should ensure that each and every shift for or average processing time per shift for each and every shift is less than 270 seconds. And how frequently he's supposed to monitor it? On daily basis, of course. He's supposed to monitor it on a daily basis. Next column is who should be accountable, that is monitor whether assistant manager is monitoring properly or not. So manager will ensure that assistant manager monitor this PT non-compliance on a daily basis. So that's the responsibility of manager, right? Then what is the frequency of accountable person to check, right? So on a weekly basis, for next 8 weeks until whole team gets settled or habituated with the new solutions, right? So manager supposed to check it out with the assistant manager almost on a weekly basis, that how the performance of PT non-compliance is going. Do you have any non-compliances? What are we doing in that case? So all those things, manager, the accountable person, supposed to do it on a weekly basis. It could be in a review meeting, or maybe he can just give a call to manager or to assistant manager, or maybe he can go to the desk of the assistant manager or his table and then check it over there. that what is the performance. So this is kind of a checking that whether things are going smoothly or not. That need to be taken care by manager at least for next 8 weeks on a weekly basis. So what need to see if non-compliances, if there are any non-compliances, if for any given shift, average processing time goes beyond 270 seconds. So what assistant manager need to do with with shift supervisor is he need to check whether this statistically significant excess has resurfaced or what. So whether we had this particular cause occurred in a given shift. We need to check that, right? Like tool breakdown in machinery or frequent waiting of approval, whether that these causes do occur over there. You need to check that. So if those are there, all he need to do is to check whether solutions are properly implemented or not. Had team implemented, had supervisor implemented the solutions properly, these causes wouldn't have surfaced or resurfaced, right? Reoccurred, in other words, right? And had these causes wouldn't be reoccurred, performance of PT non-compliance or average processing time would have been within client given range of 270 seconds, right? So he or she need to ensure that solutions are properly implemented, or whether team is implementing the solutions properly or not, and the timeline to deploy solutions. If solutions are like a one-time deployable, you need to check whether solutions are deployed properly or not. But when it is one time, if it is daily, you need to ensure whether the given solutions are implemented by the team on daily basis or not. You need to sit with the supervisor and ensure that supervisor is implementing solutions, or supervisor is demanding ground level team to implement the solutions on a daily basis. So that's a responsibility of assistant manager. And again, approver, in other words, the accountable person is manager. So by the end of the day, when manager is accountable for successful deployment of the or successful stability, or for that matter, let me repeat, if manager is accountable for the stability of stability of PT non-compliance, or stability of processing time performance, in that case, he will ensure that assistant manager do his job properly. Assistant manager will ensure supervisor of the given shift will do his or her job properly, and the job is to ensure ground level team is following the solutions religiously. So this is how it is connected. This is how it will process control plan, or the control plan inclusive of monitoring and response plan will improve the performance of the metric called processing time non-compliance. So I guess on that note, this is how the control plan will look. You can have the template of the control plan with you. You can just download it in this particular video. So let's go to next slide. And the next slide is also, this is for the third cause, right? So we had two causes over here, right? Statistically significant causes. The same thing. The next cause, third cause, high time for raw material inspection. Third cause is here. This is how we're going to control the performance of the Y by controlling the performance of the X's, statistically significant X's, by ensuring ground level team is following solutions properly. And who will ensure it? Supervisor. Who will ensure supervisor will follow it? Assistant manager. And who is accountable and ensure that assistant manager follow the job properly? In other words, assistant manager monitor PT non-compliance properly. Manager. So this is the connect. This is the connection between what needs to be done, right? And whether team is doing it properly or not. So that's the control plan. Let's go to next slide. Yes, this is a quiz time now. The control plan is a guiding document for a future to monitor the performance of Y, that is problem, after completion of Six Sigma project. It also helps handle any issue or challenge occurs while deploying solutions in future. In future means for ongoing basis, on a regular basis, on daily basis. True or false? Answer is absolutely true. Let's go to next question. Right. Monitoring plan monitors performance of Y, and if any non-compliance occurs, it checks whether this NC is caused by statistically significant causes found in Six Sigma project. True or false? See here, both of them are in a green, right? So it's not always green is right. So we want to change that now. So true or false, and the answer is true. So follow the red here. So answer is true. So next question. If there is any incidence of non-compliance, response plan checks whether solutions proven in Six Sigma project are properly implemented by ground level team. True or false? The answer is true, absolutely true. Let's go to next slide. Yes, so we are done with the quiz, and we are done with the very first step of the control phase, developing control plan to monitor project Y for long-term basis, right, with the help of monitoring plan and response plan, which is nothing but a control plan. So in a very next video, we're going to look into collecting the data for project Y, and of course, check whether project Y is under control or not with the help of P chart, that is a control chart. Right, so we're going to look into these things um, in the very next video. And control charting, by the way, is one of the very crucial, one of the very significant tool or aspect of the Six Sigma projects. So let's go ahead and learn more about control charting, how to use control chart in Six Sigma project, of course, in an upcoming video. So on that note, as I kept on requesting you, please let your friends, family, relatives, and neighbors know about BreathFX program, and let them also get benefited out of it. Because when all of us will get benefited out of this analytical problem solving expertise, I'm sure we're going to make our country great. So on that note, Uttishta Bharata, Ma Bharati shall rise again in her full glory. So before we end, as we kept on doing, let's thank the technology companies for their support. We deeply appreciate following technology companies for their technological support. Meanwhile, please do like our videos. Please share it with your friends, family, relatives, and neighbors. And if you have not yet subscribed our YouTube BreathFX channel, please subscribe it. So on that note, thank you so very much for your time. Let's meet up in our next video and continue on control chart. Thank you so very much.